Apparently, this irritated a lot of gamers, and rightfully so. Now, the thing with Tomb Raider is that nobody expects the new Tomb Raider to be any good. There are consultants with an agenda working on it, consultants that have gone in public saying that they dislike white men, they dislike the United States of America, they dislike imperialism, they dislike this and they dislike that, and they hate this and they hate that. They don't really talk about what much they love. So just by listening to these people, you kind of understand that it is impossible for them to write a good, wholesome story for everyone. And you get to see right here what I mean by this. Lara Croft is now saying that we must return the crown to the demons out of respect. So I just want to point out that Lara Croft now respects demons. Like, that's a hot take, but sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Muslims and the Christians would love this game. Shame I wanted to admire the relic a little bit longer. But listen, okay? You bigot. Like, you fucking bigot that you play the game, you need to understand, get it in your head. Cultural heritage is important, right? So the person making this game just stuffed their hand up Lara Croft's asshole. Whether it makes sense for her character to say this or not, she just become a VTuber, a spokesperson for the guy making the game. And they're basically saying that cultural heritage is important. You can't just take it away from people. Even if those people happen to be demonic in this case, the crown must be returned. And again, the game is called Tomb Raider. Like, it's in the title, right? So they inherited the title from someone else, someone better than them, someone that were actually able and capable of creating entertainment that wasn't just good for the people around them, but it was entertainment that went around the world. Like, almost everyone everywhere knows what Lara Croft is. And they're basically shitting on that heritage. They're basically saying, no, the original Lara Croft wasn't bad. It was inherently evil. Like, her message was evil. She was indoctrinating the minds of the youth. Like, let us do it properly. Let us tell you how you need to properly think. And the interesting thing is that their worldview is very American-centric. And it's not even American-centric as in for America. It is a subsection of Americans. The ones that get indoctrinated into gender studies, colonial studies, the upper middle class bourgeois twats that think they can understand the world better than everyone else, that think they know the difference between right and evil better than everyone else. And their mind view is very narrow. They're not willing to accept any shades of gray. They're not willing to accept any compromise or any middle ground. And in this case is colonialism evil, right? So like literally everything, like every single aspect, everything about colonialism is evil. And there is absolutely no good that came out of it, even though throughout human history, every single nation has tried it. And the nations that didn't do it is because they weren't capable of, because they lacked the strength. But you look at other nations like the Aztec Empire, they tried it. The Mongolian Empire, they tried it. The Islamic Empire, they tried it. But because I guess Europeans were more successful than others, it must be that Europeans are inherently evil. And again, everything they did is bad. So we're not going to look at the fact that human nature by itself is very territorial. Like, human beings are incredibly territorial, and in the past they fought wars for resources. And the reason we don't do this now is because of technology, because we are able now to grow food and have abundance of everything, something that people in the past weren't able to. And if we didn't have that, we would be colonialists today. But again, they don't care about any of that, right? But let's look a little bit about the concept of cultural heritage, right? Like the idea of worshiping the past, or not necessarily like worshiping the past, but admiring the past, like putting value on the past. Not every single society views it this way. Like again, it is very European-centric. Like, we do it, and there are some other cultures who do it, of course. But like the idea of like putting something in a museum for all the world to see isn't universal. There are cultures out there that do not care about this stuff. And there were European cultures as well that didn't care about this stuff. Like, they would look at the statues that the Romans left, and then they would be horrified because they have penises and tits, and they would chisel those tits out, or they would chisel the penis out of the statue, or cover the statue because they were Christians and they were ashamed about the art. Right? So they wouldn't respect the original vision of the artist. They wouldn't respect the way the statue was. They would destroy the art in order to fit into their Christian views. Again, not all European nations did this, but it did happen in the past. Now, when you look with other works of art, like certain people have even destroyed it. It doesn't matter if the work of art was thousands of years old or even older than that, it was heretical in nature. And because it was heretical in nature, it had to be destroyed. There are many cultures that did this. The last one that I remember who did this was ISIS. Like, they found some Sumerian relics that were there being preserved for the knowledge of mankind, at least to understand where we came from and to value the history. And what did they do? They took sledgehammers and they destroyed those works of art. Because not everyone appreciates the culture and the heritage of mankind. So when you look at what Lara Croft is doing, when you look at what Indiana Jones is doing, it's inspired indeed from human history. When the British Empire did go to Egypt, they did find all of those pyramids and they did unearth a lot of relics that the people there didn't put much value for because they were born with them, they were used to them, they didn't think that there anything spectacular about them. So yeah, like the British came in, they took some of the sarcophaguses and they took pictures of the place and they took them to London, where at the time London was a commercial hub. People from all around the world would come to London and they would go to these museums, they would see these relics, and in exchange they would want to travel to Egypt. So they would increase Egypt's commerce, they would increase the trade that Egypt had with other nations, and of course they also increased the prestige of Egypt and increased the tourism there. And the Egyptian government has even stated on several occasions that they are indeed grateful for this aspect of what the British people did. But no, like, again, everything has to be evil. There can't be any shades of gray. No, like Lara Croft, Indiana Jones, they're pieces of shit for stealing stuff. And, like, if they genuinely wanted to steal stuff, why wouldn't they just pocket the treasure? Why wouldn't they just sell it to some rich guy rather than put it in a museum? Like, that was the whole essence of Indiana Jones. It was literally the essence of some of the movies, that he didn't want to pocket the treasure for himself and make money for himself, but he believed that those treasures belonged to mankind, so he would put them in a museum. And take into account that at the time, people didn't have internet. So if you wanted to see those artifacts, you actually had to travel to the museum and see for yourself. Because, like, they telling someone, oh yeah, like back in the day, they were pharaohs and stuff. And like, they may not believe you. So they would want to see for themselves, and they didn't have access to Google. And they actually had to travel to a museum. And again, like the British weren't taking these sarcophaguses and ancient relics from an Egyptian museum, because that would have been theft. Yeah, I agree. If the Egyptians would have had these relics preserved and and the British would take them, yeah, they would have been theft. But like the effort of figuring out where those artifacts are, the effort of uncovering them. Like, do you know how difficult archaeology is to make sure that you're not damaging the artifacts while you're using the tools to unearth them? Like, the number of people that had to work there, the human resource alone, and then the courage to venture into a pyramid which could collapse at every time because people haven't gone in there for thousands of years. The effort in deciphering what it means, the effort of like figuring out the history of that thing, like all of that apparently doesn't matter. All of that, I guess, it's the same like they would have just gotten into an Egyptian museum, took the works of art, and plundered them to Britain. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.